Yo, let's go and welcome to the video. I'm going to go over our pre-raid gearing options for Phase 1 in Cataclysm Classic. Starting off, of course, with our Helm. Engineering is going to be the only way to get a 359 item level Helm, which can be learned from the trainer and requires 525, which is the max skill for engineering. It has a meta socket and 2 cogwheel sockets, which I will show you where to get your cogwheels. For the Horde and Alliance, our vendors for these cogwheels are in Twilight Highlands, and the Horde vendor is in Dragon Ball Port, and that is Zim Bam Zabble. And the Alliance is just south of Dragon Ball Port at the High Bank, and you're going to be looking for Frank Natal. The cogwheels are unique equipped, so you can only have one of each. And I plan on getting the Mastery, which is the Fractured, and the Quick, which is for Haste. The Quick is going to require 4 handful of Obsidian Bolts, and the Mastery is going to require a Goblin Barbecue. And having 208 of each of those secondary stats, as well as some extra intellect, makes the Engineering Helm our pre-raid best in slot option. If you're not an engineer, there are a few other options. There's the Willowy Crown from Blackrock Caverns, the Cowl of Rebellion from Dead Mines, and then if you don't want to deal with any RNG from drops from Heroics, you can buy the Cluster of Stars with 2200 Justice Points. For our necks, there's 2 options. One is a World Drop BOE, and the other is if you get Exalted with your Twilight Highlands rep. So for Horde, it's the Dragon Maw clan, and for Alliance, it's the Wildhammer clan. Once you're exalted, you can purchase your neck. For Horde, it's called the Yellow Smoke Pendant, and for Alliance, it's called the Lightning Flash Pendant. Other than that, there's the World Drop BOE Dorian's Lost Neck, but with how easy it's going to be to get exalted, to just buy that neck off of a vendor, that is my plan for the neck. There's also 8 other 346 necklaces, which I have a spreadsheet with all of the gear options, and that will be linked in the description if you just want to reference that. For the shoulders, there's not really many options. We can purchase the Somber Shawl for 1650 Justice Points from the vendor, and other than that, we can get either the Mantle of Soft Shadows from Halls of Origination or the Mantle of Distilled Winds from Vortex Pinnacle Heroic. There's no 359 option, but I plan on just getting that Somber Shawl off the vendor. For our cloak, we have 2 Valor Point options that would cost 1250 Valor Points, which we should be able to get before we go into our first raid, depending on when they release the raids after launch. But we have Heavenly Breeze with Spirit and Mastery, and then we have Haunt of Flies with Crit and Haste. More than likely, we'll be spending our Valor Points on our tier pieces first, so I don't really see anybody spending their Valor Points on these 2 cloaks. And there is another 359 option, which is a World Drop BOE Ritzen's Ruminous Drape. If you have the gold to buy this cloak, I would encourage you to do so instead of spending your Valor on either of those other cloaks. Or there's 6 other 346 eye level cloaks. So to save gold and save Valor for my cloak option, I might just go with one of those. For our chest, we have 2 359 options. One of them is a BOE that leatherworkers can craft. As long as they spend 10 heavy savage leather to buy the pattern, and then you give them the materials for the chest, they can trade it to you, and this slot is taken care of. There is a Valor Point option, but it's 2200 Valor Points, which I don't think we'll have access to pre-raid for the first lockout. But if you don't make it into the raid until a couple weeks after launch, then you very well could get this before you've even stepped foot into raid. And because the other 2 tier pieces can also drop from Baron and Hold from like the Tolbarad event, this might be my first piece that I do end up buying with my Valor Points. And if you don't have gold to buy that BOE leatherworking chest, then you can get the Cursed Scarden Vest from Grim Batol, the Vest of Curious Visitor from Dead Mines, or you can spend 2200 Justice Points for the Chest Guard of Forgetfulness. And those are all of our 3 4, 6 eye level options. For our bracers, there's no 359 option, and there's very limited 346 options. First option, which may be the only option, is the Armbands of Change, which drop in Blackrock Caverns off of the boss Korla on Heroic. So make sure you're doing Blackrock Caverns as much as possible so that you can have at least a 346 eye level piece for your bracers. The other option would be the Oasis bracers, which you can currently get if you create a template character on the beta. But looking at old Wowhead comments and on Wowpedia, both of those say that the 346 eye level bracers never made it into the game, and it was only the 333 normal version of the bracers that you could get. These were supposed to be BOE that would drop from heroics, as well as many other pieces. Not just the bracers, but these would be the most important ones. And according to Wikipedia, these were supposed to drop from the lost city of Tolvir. So I'll be curious to see if we actually get the 346 version when Cata goes live. For our weapons, we have some options with staves, which will probably be better than a main hand offhand combo. The first 359 staff we can get right now, currently in the pre-patch, and that is the Staff of Sorcerer Thane Thorison. You can get this staff from solving dwarf artifacts, and then after launch we'll be able to get the Staff of Amune, which you can find from solving Tolvir artifacts. Either of these 359 eye-level staffs will be great as starter weapons into tier 11. There's 6 other 346 eye-level staffs that you can get if you don't end up getting one of these from archaeology, but the staff difference going from 346 to 359 for weapons is so big that I will be doing as much archaeology as possible. The only way that a main hand offhand combo would compare to one of the archaeology staffs is if there is the Vitreous Beak of Julak Doom from the world boss Julak Doom, which originally wasn't eye level 359. That didn't change until patch 4.1, so we'll have to wait and see which version of this dagger we will get. Will it be the 346 or the 359? Other than that, there's about 9 346 eye level main hands from a variety of sources. There's some from heroics, some that are BOEs from blacksmithing. There's potential BOE world drop, the 346 Beak of Julak Doom, and there's one from Reputation, the Shimmering Morning Star. To pair with those main hands, there's one 359 eye level offhand, and that is the Heartbound Tome. It's a world drop BOE, so good luck getting this without having to spend lots and lots of gold. Like the main hand, there's plenty of offhand options that are 346 eye level that you can get from heroics, inscription, BOEs, and justice points. And in Cataclysm, you can enchant your offhand with extra intellect. So from what I've seen, main hand offhand has slightly more spell power and slightly less of the secondary stats like mastery and haste. For our gloves, we can spend 1650 valor points, which we should be able to get before the raids are unlocked, to purchase our Storm Riders gloves, which is our only available 359 option. These gloves will also drop off of the boss in Bear It and Hold from the Tolbarad PvP event. So spending valor points on these early might not be the best use of the valor points. And then there's 4 346 eye level options. The Deep Delving gloves from Heroic Stonecore, the gloves of the Uplifted Cup from Heroic Shadowfang Keep. You can spend 1650 justice points for the Blessed Hands of Elune, or once you're revered with Guardians of Hyjal, you can purchase Esena Blessed Gloves. Hopefully you can get into Bear It and Hold before your raid and get a really lucky tier glove drop. I think I will be holding on to my valor points instead of spending them on these gloves, so I might just be going into my first raid with one of these 346 options. Our belt can be bought at the same time you buy your neck from the Wild Hammer Clan Quartermaster if you're Alliance, or the Dragonmaw Clan Quartermaster if you are Horde. The Horde version is called the Withered Dream Belt, and the Alliance version is called the Belt of the Untamed. These aren't the only 359 options. There's one additional one from Leatherworking, so if you don't quite get exalted with this and you're going into raid, you can try to pick up the Lightning Lash off of the auction house. It has the same sort of stats as the Reputation Belt, so it has Spirit and Haste, and to me it does have the better socket color gem. It has a red socket with plus 10 Intellect instead of a yellow socket with plus 10 Spirit. If you don't happen to get either of those, there's 2 346 eye level belts, the Underworld Cord from Halls of Origination, or you can spend 1650 justice points for the Thatch Eve Vines. For our legs, the only 359 option is the Storm Riders leggings, which cost 2200 valor points. Probably won't have access to these prior to the raids opening, but like our gloves, these could drop off of Argaloth in Bear It and Hold. So if RNG is on your side, maybe you can get these without having to spend the 2200 valor points. But if Blizzard decides to increase the valor point weekly cap from 1000 to, let's just say, 1250, then technically you would at that point be able to buy these before you go into raid. There's 4 other options that are only 346 eye level. There's the Leggings of the Path from Lost City Heroic. There's Leggings of Late Blooms from spending 2200 justice points. There's leggings of clutching roots by being revered with the earthen ring. And then there's a pair of BOE legs, the Blaze Wings Furious Kilt, that you might be able to pick up off of the auction house. For the boots, you can spend 1650 valor points for the Fading Violet sandals, and that will be the only 359 option for pre-raid boots. These are also BOE, so you could possibly buy these from the auction house, or if you level up 2 tunes to 85 and valor cap both of them each week, you could spend your valor points for your alt and send these to yourself. And then there's 3-4-6 eye level options. The Decrepit Slippers from Throne of the Tides Heroic, the Awakening Footfalls from Halls of Origination Heroic, and there's also a BOE option, Tarvis's Poisoned Scarred Boots, which have the same exact stats as the Decrepit Slippers. So maybe if I don't get lucky from drops from the Heroics, I might end up trying to get the Valor Boots some way or another. For the rings, there's a couple of 359 options. There's 2 different rings from the Valor Point vendor. The Twinned Band of Flowers will cost 1250 Valor, and there's also the Band of Secret Names, which costs the same amount. And if you don't want to spend your valor on either of those rings, then you could spend some gold on the Signet of the High Arcanist Saver. And then the last 359 ring option is Ring of the Boy Emperor, which you can get from doing archaeology. This can be found from the Tolvir dig sites, but if farming for the staff in pre-patch is indication of how long it's going to take to farm these items, you might run out of time before going into raid before you can find this ring. There's more than 10 346 high level options for rings. They are all over the place. And the stat upgrades for rings going from 346 to 359 isn't that big of a deal compared to other item slots. So going into raid with 2 346 rings isn't really going to set you back that much. For trinkets, you can get the Stump of Time, which has a lot of hit rating on it, which to me makes it kind of enticing. By getting exalted with the Tolbarad reputation, which for Horde is Hellscream's Reach, and for Alliance it's Baradin's Wardens. My only question with this trinket is, will I be able to farm Exalted Rep before the raids open? But if I can, I'll definitely be trying to pick this one up. And for the other trinket, I will be going for the Dark Moon card Volcano, farming as much volatile life as I can to give to the Guild Scribe to make the Ember cards to make the deck. We're not sure if Dark Moon Fair Island is going to be open on launch though, so it might be a week or two until we're able to even get a hold of this trinket. There is 2 other 359 trinkets. One requires you to be an alchemist because it is BOP, and that is the Vibrant Alchemist Stone. And the last 359 option is Soul Casket, which costs 1650 Valor points. And it is an on-use trinket, which means you won't be able to stack it with your Engineering Tinker, which a lot of people say makes on-use trinkets lose a lot of value. But once the sim comes up, I will be putting this into the sim just to see how it does compare with the other trinkets. Because although it can't stack, it lasts for 20 seconds instead of 15-second proc, which most other equipped trinkets last for. I found a couple 346 eye level trinkets in case I don't get 2 of the 359, and that is Anhur's Hymnal from Halls of Origination Heroic, Gale of Shadows from Grim Batol Heroic, the Tendrils of Burrowing Dark from Stonecore Heroic, and the Witching Hourglass from Blackrock Caverns Heroic. Of those trinkets, the Hymnal and Tendrils are looking a little bit better than the other options. And again, if the sim is not available for phase 1 early enough, I might just stick with those 2 until I can replace it with the Dark Moon card and Stump of Time. Let me know which trinkets you're planning on getting, or if I missed any, because trinkets are kind of difficult sometimes to look up. And the last item slot to talk about, of course, is our Relic. There's 2 Valor Point relic options that cost 700 valor points each, and that's the Relic of Norganon that has crit and haste on it, and then the Relic of Eonar, which has spirit and crit. If we only have 2 weeks worth of valor, so we have a 2,000 point cap, we can buy one of these 2 relics and then also buy a ring or a cloak that costs 1250. But if you compare the 359 eye level relics to the 346, you're looking at only an additional 12 intellect and a couple extra stats for the secondary stats. So spending valor on the relic, although it allows you to buy 2 pieces, probably not the best use of spending for your Valor points. And speaking of the 3, 4, 6 eye level relics, there's 3 from Heroics, the Captured Lightning from Vortex Pinnacle, the Book of the Well-Sung Song from Dead Mines, and the Book of Dark Prophecies from Stonecore. There's a 4th 3, 4, 6 eye level relic from Inscription that you can buy off the auction house, and that is the Tattooed Eye. So like some of the other slots, if you're unlucky with the drops from Heroics, because these relics can also be used by Shaman and Paladin, it might be easiest to go for that BOE. I put together a set with the most 359 pieces that I could put together. And although I don't think it's very realistic, some people might be able to get a set that looks very close to this one. I also made a set that's more realistic, and this is a set that I plan on really going after. And stat-wise, it's not very far off from the absolute maximum eye level set. I went for the hit cap for both sets and looked a little bit at the haste breakpoints for the dots to get an extra tick with those. That'll be something that we'll have to play around with as we get each piece of gear, and depending on if you get DI from a Warlock and things like that. But my set is only missing out on 158 spell power and a little under 3% haste. And that's going to be it for this one. There will be links to those sets down below, as well as that spreadsheet. I plan on marking off all the pieces on that spreadsheet as I get them, so I can swap around pieces depending on if I need a little bit of extra hit and I don't want to reforge like Mastery away to get hit or something like that. So thanks for watching, and good luck in your first raids of Tier 11.